It's no secret that Revenant is a very popular warframe for noobish players. Yeah, I'm calling out all the MR17 players out there. Deal with it. Revenant mains want all the feeling of a god without the risk and reward that comes along with playing literally any other frame. You cast Mesmer Skin, blitz through the map with the Tord Incarnon, all the while acting like the most powerful person in the room. And it should be no secret that I absolutely hate Revenant. But I don't want to hate Revenant. I want to like him, I want to play him, I want to be able to enjoy him, but I just can't. Not because I think he's poorly designed, but instead because all of the potential synergies DE built into his toolkit go almost completely unused by the majority of the community. Mesmer Skin is like giving herself an unlimited use of the get out of jail free card, and I don't like that. While every other frame has some sort of limitation on its defensive mechanics, Revenant really doesn't. Imagine if Rhino could recast Iron Skin whenever he wanted without the augment, or Komei's Omamori could be influenced to prevent 100% of all damage. Limitations exist to force the player to take advantage of mechanics, consider the risk to reward involved, and play around the negative downsides. Mesmer Skin has no real downside, outside of the same thing that affects all warframes: energy. And that's not a difficult problem to solve. Nourish, Nexus Energy, Energy Siphon, problem solved. That's exactly what you're seeing in the background footage right now. Enemies that attack you are stunned for a full second, it makes you immune to self-stagger without consuming a charge, gives you damn near total invulnerability except to environmental hazards which normally can't kill you. You can freely recast it whenever you want, and yeah, sure, Reeve can restore the charges, but that really doesn't matter because you can freely recast Mesmer Skin whenever you want. The fact that I can do this should be seen as a problem within the current state of the game. Even builds that have very similar defensive options require multiple moving parts and synergies to work, and will break down if the player isn't proactive and aware of what they're doing, when and why. Or simply due to bad luck because an arcane didn't trigger properly. Even Oberon's new passive has a built-in limitation. It requires the player to pick up health orbs, which yeah, isn't much of a hurdle to cross, but it can still break down and leave the Oberon vulnerable to damage. If you're invulnerable to damage, your health can't be lowered, which means you can't pick up health orbs, which is why builds now usually run Universal Fallout, Equilibrium, or a Violet Archon Shard, so that even while you are invulnerable, you can still pick up health orbs to maintain that invulnerability, but only up to 3 instances of damage. Revenant has so many potential synergies built into his toolkit, but none of them actually matter or change how we build or play him. You can cast Mesmer Skin and pretty much forget that you have 3 other abilities. I mean, just look at this. I'm not going to move, I'm not going to pick up energy, and I'm not going to fight back for the full duration of this video, just to prove my point, that Revenant's Mesmer Skin needs a rework. This is too good. I want to love Revenant, but as he currently sits, there's a legitimate reason why so many players call him boring, uninterested, and overpowered. This is why. This is the build. This is all I'm doing. And I can't be killed. This isn't fun, it's not challenging, and it's not interesting. This feels like cheating in a system designed to force players to consider their defensive options carefully and differently for every frame in their arsenal. Komei's low base shield pushes players to build for shield gating. Loki's switch teleport means shield gating is largely pointless, so instead we build for energy sustain and duration. Rhino's Iron Skin wants strength and armor. Nidus wants damage reduction and strength, so we can fall back on his mutation stacks to avoid death. But they each have their defensive weak points as well. You can't shield gate or shield tank without energy, and you can't prevent death with Nidus unless you first build up the mutation stacks. But Revenant? This is peak Revenant gameplay. If any other frame could do this, the community would say every other frame is mid. And in fact, that's exactly what we got to a certain degree when Dante was first released. For players like myself who understand how easily Overguard can be shattered, we understood he was powerful but not invulnerable, yet DE still nerfed his Overguard. That proves they understand the need for a frame to have defensive weaknesses. Not just so players try new things, but also for the health of the game and its community. Enthrall sounds like a really cool ability, and the wiki page is practically a hardback novel in of its own right. Turn your enemies into unwilling allies? Hell yeah! And Revenant's entire toolkit is built around the Enthrall mechanic, being a key catalyst for all of his different synergies. But it doesn't actually matter. Thralls don't do any real damage, which isn't actually an issue, but Thralls are way too easily killed by other players for Revenant to ever take advantage of properly. By the time you have a few Thralls, Uriel has cast Brimstone and deleted them, meaning you can't rebuild your Mesmer Skin charges with Reeve, or create the energy pillars with Dance Macabre. And can someone explain to me what the point of the Overshield pickup is, when you can freely recast Mesmer Skin for damn near total invulnerability? Again, look at what I'm doing. Nothing can touch me. Why are there Alpha and Beta Thrall when they both serve the same purpose of converting enemies into new Thrall? Why do Thralls scale their damage off of their own level, which sounds like a great idea until you realize that they couldn't knock over a trash can with a forklift? Which, again, their damage doesn't actually matter. That's not what they're there for in the first place. But it would be nice if they could actually do something. Why can other players freely kill your Thralls if doing so doesn't trigger any of your synergies? Why do Thralls pull aggro when Revenant is immune to all damage with Mesmer Skin? Why do Thralls trigger the viral spread from Nourish, get the healing from Blood Altar, gain the electric damage from Shock Trooper, but not the benefit of Thermal Sunder's Augment Thermal Transfer? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Warframe is a game of spaghetti code after all though, so I can't ask for everything to make sense, I guess. Oh, and just out of curiosity, why can I cast any subsume placed over my third ability while channeling Dance Macabre? I get why Reeve can be cast while Dance is active, but clearly that's not an inherent feature of Reeve itself, otherwise subsuming over it should lose that functionality, right? Meaning the ability to cast your third is an inherent aspect of Dance Macabre and not Reeve? DE, can you please explain this to me, because I just don't understand it. I don't want you to remove it, it's cool functionality, it's useful, I just want to understand it. I don't think Revenant is a bad frame, nor is he poorly designed. But like Excalibur, I do think he's aged like a gallon of milk. He's been pushed aside by newer and shinier toys, only staying relevant because of Mesmer Skin. If you take that away from him, what does he actually have going for him? Look, I'm not gonna sit here and rag on Revenant for the entire length of the video without offering some sort of a possible solution. I want every frame to be viable for all levels of play and for all skill levels. But the argument Revenant is Baby Tenno's first frame falls short when faced with the reality. Sure, you can get him from the circuit now, but originally, his main blueprint was a side quest reward only, unlocked after doing the War Within, with the rest of its parts dropping from Cetus bounties. And even now, you still need 25 intact sentient cores. What I'm saying is, even a newish player isn't going to easily get a hold of Revenant, and primed version needs Nitane extract, which is a whole other grind in of itself. And I'm not going to offer solutions that take anything away from what Revenant is already trying to do. Instead, I'm going to offer solutions that build into and augment what he should have always been doing from the start, with 5 alterations. Number 1. Other players should not be able to kill your enthralled targets. Revenant needs his thralls to properly trigger his synergies. Allowing other players to kill them doesn't incentivize the Revenant to even bother casting the ability, especially given the current room nuking meta. If you cast Enthrall only for someone else to kill said thrall before you've had chance to convert other thralls, that other player has cost you energy and synergy. Eventually, you won't even bother casting the ability, because you've come to expect your thralls being killed before you've had chance to capitalize on them. Allowing other players to kill your thrall also removes any real value that the Thrall Pact augment could potentially give you. Number 2. Mesmer Skin should only give as many charges as you have Thrall scaling with ability strength. This way, you can't cast the ability and ignore the rest of his toolkit. It would force the player to actively kill their own thralls to create new ones in order to maintain that invulnerability. When one thrall dies, you lose X number of charges, and when a thrall is then converted, you gain X number of charges. It creates a natural weakness in Mesmer Skin. If the player nukes the room, killing all of their thralls in the process, they instantly lose all of their invulnerability because their Mesmer Skin no longer has charges, because they don't have the thralls they need for those charges to exist in the first place. Number 3. Mesmer Skin cannot be cast unless all charges are consumed or at least one thrall is active on the field. This now forces the player to convert enemies into thrall and manage how many thrall they have, as well as create another natural weakness within the ability, the short moment when all charges are consumed, during which you could take damage before recasting the ability, but we still have that overshield earned from Dance Macabre whenever you've killed one of your thralls with the ability, as a fallback, as well as rolling guard or whatever other defensive options you've built into. Number 4. Reeve cannot restore Mesmer Skin charges anymore. Because the charges would now be tied to how many thralls we have, Reeve should instead convert enemies into thrall when we pass through them or whenever we kill a thrall. This functionality would have no effect as a subsume naturally, but this creates a natural incentive for the player to use Reeve, because it becomes the main method by which the Revenant player can convert and kill their thrall, thus allowing them to constantly maintain their Mesmer Skin. And finally, number 5. Remove the beta thrall altogether. As far as I can tell, this serves no real function to Revenant outside of being a weird limitation. Beta thralls serve the same functionality of converting enemies into other beta thrall without the benefit of synergizing with Dance Macabre. So as far as I can tell, they can be safely removed without negatively impacting the rest of his toolkit. But there is one final alteration we need to discuss with regards to Mesmer Skin's augment, Mesmer Shield, as well as Oberon's new passive. Both need to be altered from their current state of play, as they negatively impact builds that rely on taking damage to the frame's health. For example, Arcane Avenger cannot trigger when the frame is being protected by either of these mechanics, but I'm also unsure how DE could alter these mechanics. Changing them to damage reduction probably sounds nice, but that could also negatively impact builds that are running Rage or Hunter Adrenaline. I honestly don't have a good idea for a possible solution. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some Revenant mains in the comment section fiercely defending him, and I get it. We all have our mains, and we love them for a reason. I'm a Limbo main myself. We're all aware how the majority of the community reacts to him in a squad. That's why I only play him in solo. Which is also, ironically, where Revenant shines best, because you can't effectively use the rest of his toolkit without someone mindlessly killing your thralls, which negatively impacts your potential synergies. I don't want to see Revenant nerfed, but to instead offer a way for DE to bring him out of solo play and into squads, without limiting you to just Mesmer Skin. And as always, a very special thank you to my lovely Patreon supporters and Twitch subs, who've helped push me towards making this a full-time gig, and have also currently got me sitting at the 81st fastest growing Twitch channel streaming Warframe. I couldn't do this without their support. But what do you think? Should Revenant be altered, buffed, nerfed, or am I just a hater?